All right, it's Binghamton City Council Special Business Meeting. I call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure can. Council President Dungeon,
Present.
Councilmember Rathmel, present, Councilman Cadmo,
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Present.
and Councilmember Matavetsky.
Present.
Thank
All right, moving on. Do we have any public comments that were submitted by an email or turned in?
you. Do not.
All right, first reading of legislation. This is an introductory resolution R 24-05. Wow, I can't speak. Under municipal and public affairs, and it'll be introduced by Councilmember Rathmel.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt introductory resolution 2505, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into agreements with various homeless service agencies.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Having a motion and a second, any discussion?
I think just for context, what I would represent is this is unspent emergency solutions grant funding that was requested to be allocated to these 4 homeless service agencies in general. The majority, just over half of the funds, are going to the Addiction Center of Broome County for their Comfort Warming Center. Will expand their operating hours throughout the weekend. Currently, they are not open Friday through Monday morning. So this should be sufficient to expand their operating hours throughout the winter. Volunteers of America will also be receiving rapid rehousing dollars. This is a new program for them. Rapid rehousing is rental assistance and supportive services for individuals who are experiencing homelessness. The ICA, or Institute for Community Alliance, which is the local continuum of care's homeless management information system lead, will be receiving funding, as well as Family Enrichment Network for their existing homelessness prevention program.
Any other discussion?
Last time there was some questions. What were did you get answers and what were the answers?
Yeah, so Councilmember Middleton and I did submit specific questions to Steve Carson, which he passed along to the agencies. They involved Volunteers of America. This is a new program, rapid rehousing, which is one of the buckets of emergency solutions grant funding that can be accessed. Because it's a new program and these are unspent ESG funds, my inquiry was whether or not VOA would continue to apply for this same pot of funding moving forward. They did confirm that they plan to. That shouldn't impact the funding kind of balance or breakout. I don't see any issue with it. It will just reduce the amount that Family Enrichment Network can access for their homelessness prevention program. We also asked if ICA, their budget proposal included quite a bit in personnel costs, and we wanted to make sure that they were going to be allocating this $8,000 directly to supportive services or data collection rather than personnel. They confirmed. I think those were the primary questions.
Thank you.
Does VOA have other funds for the rapid rehousing? I mean, it doesn't look like 8,000 would go
So
anywhere.
they have what they represented in their application, they have a permanent support. VOA does emergency shelter as well as transitional housing for veterans and permanent supportive housing programming. So what they represented is that they'll be working with existing clients to transition them from shelter to permanent housing in the community rather than their permanent supportive housing units on site. So they don't anticipate taking referrals from the community at large, and this funding has to be limited to Binghamton residents. So it typically with the ESG rapid rehousing funding, the cap on rental assistance is like security deposit, first month's rent, and up to 3 months of rental assistance after. So it's not a long duration as it is. I don't recall how many clients they represented being able to support with the $8,000.
Councilmember Hotchkiss, you have a question?
I was gonna. I don't know how to phrase it, but is Are we gonna be able to have access to data for in the HMIS COC program to?
I think that's a great question. I would love to see council members having access to HMIS data. The city, to my knowledge, I mean, this would be a Steve Carson question. The COC locally, HMIS previously was a closed system, which meant that only providers could only access data relative to their program rather than relative to the COC at large. I think that we would be able to make a case from a city personspective, having aggregate data, not personally
Granular data.
identified, yeah, not personally identifiable data or client-based data, but aggregate data in terms of the performance and the outcomes for this data in particular. I think that we have some of it, not anecdotally, but some of it is readily accessible, but we could certainly dig into the annual performance reports to see how effective the funds actually are, not just for these unspent funds, but ESG.
That, which reminds me, I think I asked this, I'm just sorry, I don't remember the answer, or maybe there was not an answer. Were there specific programs that were not spending that caused these leftovers from, 5 different years?
I don't know that we got the full answer on when we asked where the funding came from, the answer was just that it was unspent. We did ask that during the work session.
Thought so.
I think because there's not consistency or entire clarity or transparency with the budget as a whole, it is interesting to all of a sudden be informed that there's unspent ESG funds. I think we have an opportunity to keep a closer track on those funds. The ESG dollars do sunset or expire after a certain time frame, and so do need to be used. The challenge that we had in discussing this funding in particular, I believe Steve represented that it went through the COC, but not through CDAG. Or was that the other proposal for unspent ESG funding? They did receive there was a review process at the COC level, is my understanding, but I don't believe it went through CDAC, who exists as our advisory panel when it comes to approving these allocations. So in general, the request continues to be that anything involving CDBG, ESG, or home, even if it's randomly outside of the typical cycle, should go through CDAC. So they can advise.
Anybody else have anything else they want to ask? All right, we have a motion and a second. Clerk, we'll do a roll.
Absolutely. Councilmember Rathmel. Aye. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Hopkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Levinsky.
Aye.
Council President Dunn.
Aye.
Councilmembers Murray and Middleton are absent. That's 5-0.
All right, seeing that there's nothing else on the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
We're not still on, right?
We are.
Yeah.
You're done?
No, it's still recording.